Hey there, I've been wanting to make this video for quite some time, and I've had a lot of people asking me to make this video. And I want to talk to you about how I healed my very badly damaged hip joint without any surgery, without a hip replacement, all just treating it myself at home, even after I'd been told by surgeons that I needed a hip replacement. So if you are in line for a hip replacement or you're considering a hip replacement, please take the time to just listen to me and watch this video so that you can understand what I did and what worked for me, because this is what you need. You need information, you need options, you need ideas. Now, this is not to say that a hip joint is always a bad idea, a hip joint replacement, because obviously there are times when there's nothing else to be done, and they are usually quite successful operations. The problem is that major surgery like that should, to my mind, be the last option. And if you haven't gone through the other options, or you haven't considered the other options, then you're probably rushing into something that is quite traumatic and takes a long time to recover from. You know, I mean, the whole idea of having your thigh cut open down the length of it and your bone pulled out and the top of your bone cut off and metal put over the top of it and screwed back in, and I mean, it's just horrific as an idea to me. So when I was told I would need a hip replacement, I thought, wow, okay, I can get how that might be the only option, because my life was pretty miserable, and I could hardly walk. I was limping really badly. I definitely couldn't run, and I've been a runner my whole life. I could ride a bicycle, but getting on and off the bike was very, very difficult because I didn't have the range of motion to swing my leg up and over the bike. So I was lying the bike down on the ground and standing over it and then lifting it up between my legs. It was ridiculous. I was in pain at night. I couldn't sleep without painkillers. I couldn't lie on that side. I went for x-rays. There was hardly any gap anymore between the femur and the pelvis where they join in, because all the cartilage had been worn away. And we are told, and I was told, and I've believed, I guess, most of my life, that cartilage wears down over time, and when you get to 50 or 60, very often the cartilage is worn away to the point that you've got bone on bone, and there's no option but to have a hip replacement. And then the comparison is always made between your hip or your knee joint, I mean, sometimes it's a knee, and a car. And people talk about the joints of a car and the metal wearing away, and eventually you have to replace it, of course. And I thought, well, I'm not a car. All my tissues, all my body parts are metabolically active living tissue. A car is not. I'm made of cells, human cells, living cells. Living cells reproduce. They have mechanisms to repair themselves. So it's not obvious logic that any part of my body can wear out and never repair. Now, maybe that's the case, but I wasn't happy with it. So before I went through with having a hip replacement, I thought, okay, let me see if there isn't something else I can do. And I started researching it, or studying it rather. And I'm not a doctor. I'm a patient, or a potential patient, who managed to sidestep the thing. And I think we've got to be very careful with doctors, because we say, oh, well, you're not a doctor, so you don't know what you're talking about. But if all doctors always knew what they were talking about, we would never be going for second opinions. And yet we go for second opinions quite a lot when something's really important. And you can talk to 2 or 3 doctors about your issue and get 2 or 3 opinions. So clearly they don't always know. They're educated, they make educated guesses. Sometimes they're more sure than other times, but at the end of the day, it's your body, and you need to be happy that you have as much information as possible so you can make your decisions. So please let me explain to you what I did, because from not being able to run, from barely being able to walk, to not being very maneuverable, I mean, my quality of life was a disaster, and I'm going to have to say it even affected my sex life, because I just couldn't move properly. That a year later, I am not only walking really fast with no limp, I am running again. And if you are a runner, you'll understand me when I say I am running 4 minutes a K or 6.5 minute miles. That's what I'm running now. I'm really running well. Getting on and off a bike is a complete and utter non-issue. I have no more pain at night. I have nothing. Everything is fine. I went for a follow-up x-ray, not because I felt I needed an x-ray to prove to myself that my hip had recovered, because for me that was obvious and I wasn't bothered. I had an x-ray because I was out on my bicycle and I got hit by a car and I landed on my hip and it was really painful. So I went to have an x-ray to make sure it wasn't broken. And in that x-ray, my doctor looked at it and was really confused, because that was the same hip that I had had x-rayed 9 months previously, when the arthritis was so bad it was bone on bone and there was no gap, and it was completely back to normal, and the cartilage has regrown and filled up that gap, and there's a nice big space between the bone and the pelvis. And she couldn't believe it was the same leg. I said, well, I believe it because I know, because I can feel that it recovered completely with no surgery. And I have to give a big shout out to Dr. Ken Berry, whose YouTube video inspired me to try this course of action. So what does it mean at the end of the day? I've got a few notes here. I don't want to miss anything. I gave myself a 3-month challenge first, and I was quite public about it, and I posted a video every single day on my progress so that all my friends could follow, and said, for 3 months I am going to cut out every bit of inflammatory food so that I can get my inflammation down as much as possible to give my body a chance to heal if it's going to. That meant cutting out all sugars and all carbohydrates, because it's very inflammatory, and I'm generally a low carb eater anyway, but really being strict and really cutting out all carbohydrates and all sugars. I also cut out nightshade plants, potatoes, tomatoes, brinjals or eggplants, peppers, and the science is kind of half-half about them, that in some circumstances they can be inflammatory, in other circumstances maybe not, and okay, so I cut them out anyway. And I cut out alcohol for 3 months, which was quite tough, but I did. Said, okay, you know what, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it properly. It's 3 months. Cut out alcohol, really give my body a chance. Not overeat, so cut out, make sure I don't eat breakfast. So intermittent fasting was a big part of the regime to give my body a chance to rebuild. It isn't just digesting food all the time. Increased natural anti-inflammatories like turmeric and ginger in my food. For the first week of the project, I actually took an anti-inflammatory medication, and after that I didn't, because they're long term they're not good, and they're not good for your stomach. And I thought, if I'm not inflaming myself by eating the wrong foods, I'll probably be fine. And so that worked fine. And then exercise. Now, exercise is a tricky one because it hurts like hell and you don't want to do more damage. But you do want to maintain your range of motion and increase the range of motion, so that if your cartilage is able to grow back, and if you are able to activate your stem cells, which is ultimately what you need to do, then it needs to grow back, giving you the space for the motion that you need. So if you just have it immobilized, it'll just grow back all over the place and it'll be stuck. So you want to keep it moving, but not with impact. So ranges of motion. So walking was very good. And just striding just into the length where it just catches and it's a bit sore. It's a little bit sore, just, at the limit of where it can comfortably go. And over time that increased, and eventually I got my range of motion back. Swimming was good. Running was out. I mean, there was no way I was going to be able to run, but I could ride, but I was riding a bike. And the other thing, of course, is to lose weight, because the less weight you carry, the less the impact on that joint, and the more chance it has to recover. So anyway, that's the process I went through for 3 months. And after 3 months, I would say I was 70 to 75% better, which was amazing. Now, I did have people, doctors in particular, saying, really, you're just feeling better because your inflammation is down. It's probably not better. Hell, feeling better is, I'll take it, I'm not going for a hip replacement now. when I'm feeling better, I'm going to keep going. So I kept going, and I kept going for a year. And like I say, now, a year later of cutting out sugar, because it's inflammatory, cutting out every other kind of inflammatory food, adding anti-inflammatory like turmeric to my diet, taking supplements, okay, so collagen, glucosamine, chondroitin, anything like that to help give your body the raw materials it needs to build the new tissue and to build the cartilage, because your body needs to manufacture collagen. Did you know that collagen is a protein, and that of all the protein in your body, about 80% is collagen? I know, it's mad. It's not just in your skin and your nails and your hair, it's everywhere. So I needed to be able to build a lot of collagen. So I took collagen supplements, and I took chondroitin and glucosamine as well, which helps towards the construction of collagen. And with the gentle exercise and the regular movement, after a year, like I say, I'm running 6-minute miles. I'm running 4 minutes a K. I can really, really run now without any pain whatsoever. I'm completely flexible. I can get up on and off my bicycle without any trouble. I have no pain. I sleep absolutely perfectly, and the doctors are amazed at how the cartilage really, really has grown back in my hip joint. Now, you could say I'm a one-off. You could say maybe I've got some kind of genetic freak ability to get my stem cells to rebuild something that most people can't do. You can make up all sorts of stuff. I don't know. Okay, I'm just telling you my story, and I'm saying to you that if you are really suffering from a bad hip and you're worried about a hip replacement, and you've been advised to get a hip replacement, get another opinion. But what have you got to lose taking 3 months to try this? Just 3 months. Give it a shot. See what happens. 3 months. Lose weight. Cut out sugars, carbohydrates. Cut out other inflammatory foods. I'll put a list of them in the link down below of the things that I did and the things that I cut out. Take the right supplements. Make sure you fast, so you go 16 hours a day, and I've done a video about that actually. I'll put a link to that here. Make sure you fast long enough in the day to give your body a chance to rebuild and for your stem cells to fix you up. Do your exercise, gentle exercise, and give it 3 months and see. And if it's 50% better, then you know there's progress, you know you're going in the right direction, and you can put off the decision to have major surgery, which of course, as much as anything else, could potentially cost you a lot of money if you're not fortunate enough to have a government service or a medical aid that's going to cover it. But it's been unbelievable to me to realize that yes, you really can grow your joints back. You can grow your cartilage back. You can rebuild a hip joint. And if you can rebuild a hip joint, you can rebuild an elbow or a knee. They're smaller, and I guess the same physiology applies, the same metabolic processes apply. It can be done. You can do it. You don't necessarily have to have surgery. Now, if you don't want to take responsibility and you don't want to change your diet, change your lifestyle, lose weight, be dedicated and apply yourself, then please, by all means, go and have a hip replacement. But this is not the end. A hip replacement is not the end of your problems. It's probably the beginning of a whole lot more problems, because we all know that hip replacements never last forever. Invariably, at some point, you'll have to have them redone. Whatever it was that damaged your hip and got you to the point where you needed a hip replacement, you're probably going to need to get another one on the other side as well. So it's entirely up to you, but I would highly recommend that you at least give yourself 3 months to test it the way I tested mine, and to find out for yourself that you can rebuild a hip joint. Contrary to what we've always believed, contrary to what most doctors will even tell you, and what most of them actually think, they are wrong. It can be done, because I've done it, so I know it can be done. And I'm not the only one. There's plenty of science out there, there's plenty of research out there, and there's plenty of evidence out there to show that people have done this. It's amazing. My whole life, I feel like I've got my life back again. So please go and give it a try. If you are suffering from hip issues, joint issues, and you want to ask me anything, please comment down below, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Anyway, thank you for watching, and good luck, and I hope this is able to help you.